Hey guys, Farrak here. Okay, so I've done my tier 1 tutorials where you see how to use the cards in each tier 1. Now I want to talk about tier 2. Now, I'm immediately going to start with pure Shadow. And the reason is as follows. It's not the strongest deck and it's not the easiest deck to play. But I've been playing Battleforge for over 3 years now, and I can tell you without a doubt, Pure Shadow is the most fun deck to play. And I don't know what you're doing playing Battleforge if you're not playing for fun. So while most decks are all about just microing your units and timing your spells right, Shadow has a whole nother element which is very creative, and that is the use of the buildings. Using the buildings and using some very creative spell usage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep an Embalmers Shrine over here and let it cook. In fact, I'm going to make 2. And depending on your match, maybe you'll have 2, maybe you'll only have 1. There is a lot you can do. You think 50 power for activating this seemingly weak ability is nonsense, but it's really very cool. And I'll try to go through. And as you see, I made a deck of only Shadow Tier 2. Now, I know Nightguard's 1, and this is Tier 1, and this is Tier 1, and this is Tier 1. But these are Tier 1 things that you will use all of the time in Tier 2, while Nox, Forsaken, and Dread Chargers you will never use in Tier 2. So let's get started. Obviously, Nightguard is your best large counter. Now, Knight of Chaos is a large counter, and a very strong one. But against something like Deep 1 or whatever, it's still better to do Nightguard because you want a good large unit. Because Shadow doesn't have large units in Tier 2, and that makes sense because you put Unholy Power or Life Weaving on a large unit, and that thing's unstoppable. It's incredibly powerful. So, Knight of Chaos is nice, and it's good for stopping large attacks with its ability. But Nightguard is ultimately the best if you can pull off a swap, and then you have to somehow kill the Nightguard before anything bad happens. I read these already, so I don't know why they're still flashing. I refuse to empty them. Anyhow, okay, so that's Nightguard. And by the way, in particular versus War Eagles, which are slow, Nightguards are amazing. You keep on stealing the War Eagles. Okay, Embalmers Shrine, look at what it does. Activate to gain more life points. For 40 seconds, all corpses in the game will grant 220% more life points, which means... Watch this. You know what? Actually, let's start with 2 of these guys. So let me show you what would happen. First of all, Phoenix Dove here. Ah, this gets annoying. Come on. Stand still. You know, I'm just going to make units. Here. Okay, let's make 2 Nightguards. We'll make 3 Nightguards, alright? They are officially the enemy. And I'm going to have a Phoenix dive. Bad choice. They're actually large counters. Anyhow. 3 dead units. But no revival. Because there are not enough corpses on the floor. Now, let's try just 2 Nightguards attacking a Phoenix. But let's activate Embalmers Shrine. Oh, seriously? I'm that stupid? Ah, I completely forgot that pressing that button would get rid of my Embalmers. Now I have to wait for this cooldown. Okay, so we'll wait for the cooldown. While this is cooling down, I'll talk about other cards. Okay. We have Soul Splicer, which is very, very good, and probably even called lame near Shadow Mages, because as they shoot, they have incredibly strong attack. As they shoot, they lose life points. But if you have 1 or 2 dead corpses around, it feeds the Splicer, and they start gaining life even faster than they're losing, so they could just keep on attacking, and they are incredibly strong. Also, there is a bug with Nether Warp, which I'll talk about in a minute if I get around to it. But anyhow. Okay, so that's basically it for Splicer. Personally, I don't think you should have in your deck. Because pulling it off offensively is extremely tricky. It can be done, and when it's done, it's really strong, but it's also kind of lame, and I'm not a big fan of that. Obviously, Motivate is super, super duper strong in Tier 1 for Nox or Forsaken. But in Tier 2 also, if you motivate a Shadow Mage, another Shadow Mage can take out a Drake, I think, in a single shot. So it makes these things incredibly strong. So, also with Nightcrawlers, if you're sending 2 Nightcrawlers to each base, and one is being countered by, let's say, an Enforcer the second before it dies, you motivate it, and they all become really, really strong, even if they're not frenzied. And when they're frenzied, they become even stronger. So it becomes a lot of fun to work with. Let's see if our Embalmers are ready. Yes, they are. So now, remember, 3 Night Guards, the Phoenix did not come back to life. Now there are only 2 Night Guards, which is even less, so for sure shouldn't. But I'm going to activate the Embalmers Shrine. The Phoenix comes back and 1 Night Guard is still there. It's incredible. I mean, it got a lot of corpses from it, but still. It's extremely powerful, and I have a friend who does this very often. It's an extremely potent move. And there's a very good combination, which, let me show you, with a Nightcrawler, pretty much any unit. But let's just use Nightcrawler. Where what you'll do is this. You'll have the Nightcrawler attacking these Lancers. And you'll bring in a Phoenix for a dive. And what you do is, the Phoenix is going to dive, and then you nasty, and then the Phoenix comes down. And you have all these corpses and the Nightcrawler, and the Phoenix will come back to life. But I'm an idiot, and I waited for the Nightcrawler to get hit a lot. So the nasty didn't do enough damage. But normally, it's a very good combination. Now, if you put that combination... Oh, I'm a moron! If you do that combination together with Embalmers Shrine, you can have some really, really, really nice results. So that's that. Okay, what else do we have? So we have Motivate, we have Nasty, which you all know about. Nasty has a cap, by the way. It used to be Nasty a Dread Charger. Got very close to killing a well. But now there's a limit on how much damage it does. So the unit size limit is like 1,700. So you don't want to, or something like that. So you don't want to Nasty a full health Harvester. But there are some nice combinations, which I'll get to later. Dark Elf Assassins. Something you should know about them, which is very important. They are probably the strongest small counters in the game, at least in Tier 2. They kill Spirit Hunters. They're very strong alone, but with their ability, they're even stronger. But let me show you something. So you see they're shooting the wall. Now I'm going to enable their ability. And they can no longer reach. Oh, they could? What the heck? For some reason in-game, when you enable their ability, a lot of the times they have shorter range. So my personal thing is before I enable their ability, I give them 1 step forward. I don't know why it's true, but it just seems to happen with me. Maybe I'm crazy. But anyhow. So, where was I? Yeah, so Dark Elf Assassins, extremely, extremely powerful, small units. And if you ever see small units in Tier 2, just there's no combo necessary. They're very good. A good combination, which, by the way, Frost Shadow uses a ton, is just Nightcrawler and Dark Elves together. Because you have a very strong, one of the strongest medium counters in the game, and one of the strongest small counters in the game. And if needed, you can Frenzy this and activate this ability, and they become extremely strong. What a powerful combo. So that's really nice. And then as everything's about to die, tra-la-la, in comes the Phoenix. It'll be dazed, but it doesn't matter. It dives in, splashes, kills everything, and then you get your Phoenix back for free. So it's really nice. Shadow Mages, one at a time, they're really not good because they lose health as they attack, and if they're getting attacked, they'll get 1 or 2 shots off and then they're finished. They're nice because they do medium knockback. So, for example, you have something like a Nightcrawler trying to attack a Shadow Mage. It doesn't work very well. In the Fire video, I'll show you how Enforcers beat Shadow Mages. But for now, you'll see, if she gets the next shot off, yeah. So she barely survives, she goes to a well and heals. Like, that's the way you deal with things. You use her to attack Burrowers, but then she's near friendly wells and gains health back. So, okay, but they're very strong, and her ability is really sweet if you are that type of guy. It basically makes a stronger Nasty. So it turns an own unit into a bomb. I'll do it herself just so you see how it works. That animation. And you see on the unit when it's about to explode. Now, Nasty Surprise does 200% more damage, like this says. But this ability actually, the description's wrong. It actually does 300% more damage. So it's stronger than Nasty Surprise, and it doesn't have the cap that Nasty Surprise just got. So using this ability on a Harvester, for example, and managing not to get him attacked is extremely potent. So very cool choice there. All right, Knights of Chaos. Well, obviously you know Nightcrawlers. The things you don't want to do is when you're walking up to attack a nature player, you don't want to say, okay, I'm almost right near them, and then frenzy, because then he'll just root for 45 power and your 60 power unit will just die. So don't frenzy unless you're at half health in middle of a fight, you know, something where you know they're not just going to root and you lost it. So don't get frenzy happy, okay? Knights of Chaos. So people like different things. A lot of people like the purple guy because when there is a very large enemy attacking, you do it and the enemy just goes at itself. Everything just attacks everything. So people still attack the Knight of Chaos, but at the same time everything's attacking everything. Now, I don't want them to survive because I don't have to deal with this. So I'm just going to take care of this. Thank you. Yeah, I personally am not a fan because first of all, your own units start attacking yourselves also. And secondly, the enemy can just oink, and then their units don't attack. I like the blue one better, where it just makes nothing able to attack but the Knight of Chaos. In particular, when you have large units attacking, and you use that, the large units can't attack, and the Knight of Chaos, who's a large counter, can attack them. Also versus Harvester or Juggernaut, it's a very nice ability. Okay? So I like this one. Also, it's a really great nasty unit because it has 950 health, while Nightcrawler only has 745. So if there's a large, especially fire, because their units have very low health, and you manage to get a Knight of Chaos guy in, and you bring him in as an Enforcer's charging, you nasty him and take out, you know, 2 Fire Dancers and Enforcer or something like that. It's really nice. Okay, Phoenix I discussed already. Remember, Phoenix together with Embalmers Shrine. This takes a ton of practice. I cannot impress on you how much practice. You're going to try it for 2 weeks. You'll be like, oh, there's no way I'm going to start doing this. And you'll stop doing it. Don't. If you force yourself to make it through, it's an incredibly powerful combo. And I think you should practice it a lot. It's a really good choice. Harvester. Don't be that guy who waits for 300 power and says, oh my god, I got 300 power, and go and attack with a Harvester. There is not a single deck that cannot kill a full health Harvester without any buffs before it even takes down a well. Sure, if you're fighting noobs, you can just make a Harvester and their North Guards won't do anything to it. Yeah, I get that. But if you're just going to bring a Harvester in versus any Frost Splash, you're going to see Lyrish Knights, Frostbite slowing this down, making it take more damage. Home Soil, it'll die in seconds. You have to see, it goes down so fast, it's not even funny. Versus Fire Splashes, you'll just have Spread Gladiatrices and Skyfire Drakes. There's really no deck that Harvester works well against. It's really, really hard to use Harvester. If you're going to do it, you want to do it at least with Life Weaving, and probably with Nether Warp as well. Nether Warp is especially good because if there's a wall and you want to get inside the enemy wall, it gets pretty annoying. So what you do is, you bring your Harvester, they mount units on the wall, and tra-la-la, you're inside. And you go straight for the well or orb or whatever. Okay? Now, very often, what I see is, I see that my Harvester got inside. Alright, it's a Frost base. There's the orb. And I get one shot on the orb, and then a ton of Lyrish Knight show up. So what I would do, here's Corpse Explosion. What it does is it gathers life points and does a damage as a sphere. Try to avoid casting it near the walls, because then the walls will take most of the damage, and you won't damage the wells or orbs at all. So if possible, you'll want to cast it like this, where you hit the wells and the orb. And what you do is this. After you got 2 shots over the Harvester or something, you do that, and then nasty him, and his corpse feed the sphere, and it'll just take out everything. I did it versus a top 10 player when I was not even legend. And I beat him. He was playing Pure Frost. I completely decimated he had 2 wells, a bunch of Lyrish Knights, a War Eagle. I just Harvestered, Corpse Explosion, Nasty surprise. It just wiped out everything. Obviously, my Harvester did some damage to the walls first. And if he uses Cobalt Trick and Glacier Shell, he could possibly defend it. So you have to make sure it's going to work. Again, this is something that takes a colossal amount of practice. It's not going to work the first, second, third, 20th time. If you practice it a lot, it becomes extremely potent. And it's a nice trick. Furnace of Flesh. Oh, by the way, yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. Furnace of Flesh is nice. If you're going offensive and you manage to get up, it's amazing. If you're on a map where to get to your bases, the enemy has to go through one base, you'll want to build this because as all the fighting happens, the corpses gets rid of your void and puts it in your main power. And if there happens to be a nice big fight near the Furnace of Flesh, you're almost guaranteed to win because you have 0 void power, which means you'll have like 300 power more than the enemy, and you could just spam Nightcrawlers to all bases and you'll win. It's just as simple as that. Now, it's 75 power, so just keeping it hanging around and the enemy will go and attack a different base is suicidal for you. So make sure if you use it right. The reason most players keep it in their deck is because of Tier 3, which I'm going to do a different time. With Cultist Masters, it's amazing. But for now, it actually is a very good card. You just have to use it right. If it just sits around, it's a complete waste. Just remember that. Shrine of Greed. Very interesting card, and there's a lot of bugs attached to it, and I'm not going to go into the details too much. What I will tell you is this. The minute you activate the ability, it takes 50% of your void and puts it into your regular power, but then you get no power refund. And what you'll do is destroy the building right after you use the ability, because you get no power refund at all for 30 seconds. Which means, listen carefully, if you use the ability and you get 50% of your void back, let's say you had 400 void. So use the ability and now you have 200 void left and 200 went into your power straight away. But for the next 30 seconds, anything you do does not come back. If your Harvester gets killed in battle, you don't get that 300 power back in void. It's gone. If you nasty a Dark Elf Assassins, that's nasty and Dark Elf Assassins, 100 power gone for good. It's like losing a well. That's a terrible price to pay. So what people do is they activate Shrine of Greed and then destroy it. Now, because that was active, you don't get the 100 power back for the building. So it's like you lost a power well. So this sounds like a stupid move. Why would I want to get some void power back and lose a power well? The answer is because when you're in late tier 2, and let's say the enemy's going tier 3, or just anyhow you're in late tier 2, like that match I had with Steel Talons on my channel, and you have 1,000 power and you use this ability and then destroy this, boom, you have 500 more power. So while the enemy has 200 power, you suddenly have 700 power to spend. What does that mean? Harvester here, a Harvester here, Life Weaving on one, Unholy Power on the other, and there is no way he can possibly defend it. Maybe he'll get one down, the other one will completely wipe out a base. Or you could just spam Phoenixes. I mean, there are just so many opportunities. When you have that much power flowing, really nothing's stopping you from just destroying the enemy. So a lot of players, because of this, don't have tier 3 in their pure shadow decks. It's very, very hard. I've been trying it, and I cannot pull it off yet. I'm just being honest. But if you manage to force long tier 2s by putting a lot of pressure on the enemy so that they cannot go tier 3, and they have to keep on spending power defending, and you manage to get up a ton of void, don't do it early in the game, but if you get really late tier 2 and you have like 1,000 void and you pull off a Shrine of Greed, if you play your cards right, that's an instant win for you. So it's very good. There are players who have gotten very, very far using this tactic. Nether Warp. There are 2 Nether Warps. There's the green and the blue. The green one heals your units. Actually does double heal. There's a bug, whatever. I'm not going to go into the details and the semantics because it'll probably get fixed. But a lot of players put Shadow Mages in the Nether Warp because Shadow Mages, remember, they lose health as they attack. So if you use the Shadow Mages in the Nether Warp, yay, their health comes back. Here, let me show you. So, Shadow Magi. So they're going to attack the wall, and their health goes down, but then heals up. I don't know why this guy's not healing. Well, this one is. That's weird. Okay, that must be a bug. But anyhow, So if they're in the warp, then they heal up as they attack, and they can just keep attacking. So versus, nature or frost, they'll just crowd control, oink or whatever, and your 70 power is gone, but you will already have done significant damage. So, but still, they'll probably kill it all. Versus fire, if you use 3 mages, the second they attack, they'll do a lava field and they'll all die anyhow. So you have to play it right. It's tricky. It's very hard to pull off. Versus noobs, it's a joke. You just do it and you win. But versus good players, it's very, very tricky to pull off. I personally use the blue Nether Warp. Reason is because this also heals enemies. If you do it and an enemy walks in, he's getting killed while attacking you. That's not fun. Also, I like the blue Nether Warp better because it slows down units. So if there's a Harvester or Juggernaut coming to my base and I do this, then they're away from my base and walking really slow, and then I can attack them and kill them in time. So it's great defensively. It's still good offensively because I can move my units inside of walls or to cross long distances in a short amount of time. Unholy Power is a very strong buff. You're probably only going to use it on Harvester, really. It does 50% less damage and 50% more damage, but there's something you have to realize about it. You would think Unholy Power at 90 power and giving a buff to defense and damage is stronger than Life Weaving, which is a tier 1 70 power spell, right? Well, I'm going to Life Weave this guy. That guy's Unholy Power. Let's see who wins. The Unholy guy is getting the attacks off first, and he's still losing. So even with getting the first shot off, he's still lost. Life Weaving is stronger versus units. I'm not going to go into the details why. Oh, I forgot to talk about this army. Yeah, when you have Harvester and you gather corpses, do this. Do yourself a favor. It's free, and for fun, you can motivate one of them, and now they all do tons of damage. And when they die, he'll be able to do it again. It's just do it because it makes it harder to counter the Harvester. That's the main reason you want to do it, because they have to deal with these guys as well. Also, when these guys die, if you don't want to reuse the ability, you could just use Corpse Explosion. Right? But whatever. Anyhow. Where was I? Yeah, so Blue Nether Warp I like better. Unholy Power. It's good if you have Harvester versus Harvester, and you both have Life Weaving. If you have Unholy, then you got the advantage and you'll win. Okay. Aura of Corruption. It's a defensive spell. It lasts for 40 seconds, which in my opinion is just way too long. But I'm not going to get into the math of it. If you make units that are very high health and more than tier 1, it's the power cost combined with the tier number and does an amount of damage to a unit. So building a Harvester, which is 300 power cost and has 2 orbs, will instantly kill a Harvester. Making a Phoenix won't. Making 2 Phoenixes will. By the way, if they're still in animation, they don't die from it. Now, there isn't a damage limit, but you're never really going to hit it, unless you're playing versus Stonekin or something. But it's kind of too strong, this spell, just because of how long it lasts. When you have Blue Nether Warp, though, the enemy's trying to escape, you pull them back in. It's too slow to get out, because it has a 4-second countdown before it does the damage. Aside from the Nether Warp making him take damage, then you could just make a Phoenix or 2, and all of his units will die. And if they don't, then the Phoenixes can dive, and they'll die, and then the Phoenix will come back to life. So there are a lot of very funky combos you can do with Shadow. Alright, now, Undead Army. Well, it's tricky. So when there are a lot of dead units around, you don't even have to be there. It's Arcane, I think. Arcane. You just cast Undead Army, and 4 Skeleton Warriors come to life. Most players will also motivate one of them, so they do 50% more damage. Okay, versus nature, you'll be immediately hurricaned for 50 power or whatever it costs, and boom, your entire 100 power Undead Army's gone. So never do it versus nature. Never. Versus frost, there will be frost mages. So it really only works versus fire, and personally, it can be defended with Fire Sworn. So I don't see using it ever useful. Now, when it can be done is when you have Embalmers Shrine. Now, listen carefully because this is really, really hard to pull off. Let's say your enemy has Power Wells. Obviously, I know these are... Right. Let's say these are both Power Wells. I don't know. what you'll do is you'll bring a Nightcrawler over and you'll start attacking one of the power walls. You'll immediately frenzy it, by the way. Start attacking. And then they make an Enforcer, and Enforcer's killing it and doing damage to it and blah, blah, blah. You activate Embalmers Shrine. And then your Nightcrawler dies, and you cast Undead Army. Why did that not work? I don't even understand why that didn't work just now. Let me try again. Undead Army? Oh, because the Furnace of Flesh is taking the corpses. I'm an idiot. Okay, let's get rid of the Furnace of Flesh. That was probably a bad idea. I'm sorry. That was stupid of me. Let's make another Shrine of Greed. Okay. Alright. Dumb move. Okay. So here we have our Nightcrawler, and he's frenzied, and he's attacking, and let's say an Enforcer, or some other units attacking it. So you have your Embalmer's Shrine activated, right? Just for good measure, let's activate it. Okay, it really wouldn't do that much damage, but anyhow, it dies. You cast Undead Army. If you're in the mood, you can motivate one. You don't really need to. You could just leave them alone. Now they're going to attack. I don't like the fact that I killed that one so fast, so I'm going to build another one right here. And now, watch. Let's say they get hurricaned even, or just die. If the Embalmer's still active, and if it's not, reactivate an Embalmer's Shrine. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, come on. Oh, because it's still active. You'll want to cast 2 quick corpse explosions. They have immediate cooldown, so you can do 2 at once. And I guess this just, yeah, it unactivated. But you can do 1 or 2 at once, depending on the health. And let me just show you what would happen. So we have, let's say, 2 Shrine of Greeds. One's at full health, right? So that's almost the full well. And let's say we have corpses here. And you have Embalmer's Shrine activated. Your Undead Army already did a ton of damage here. Yeah, very good. And then they died. Ability wore off. You can cast 2 corpse explosions because the Embalmer's Shrine makes it get so much power from this, it'll immediately wipe out all the power wells. Kill all the enemies, wipe out all the power wells, take out the orbs. It'll do insane damage. If my calculations are correct, I think, let me just do it before I say anything. Let's find a building that's around 3,000 health. Okay, incubator, 2,730. Okay, it's pretty good, right? No, yeah, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's a friendly unit; it will still die. So, let's say we had a harvester, right? Harvester's over here. Let's pretend this is an enemy building. An orb. It's almost 3,000 health, right? You activate Embalmers. You can cast a quick double corpse explosion and Nasty the Harvester. Oh, I did it too fast. Yeah, I usually have this on hotkeys, by the way. And it will certainly kill the incubator if you pull off a second one in time. The first one didn't go off in time. This is what would have happened. So it'll take out, I don't know if it'll take an orb or almost very close to taking out an orb. I haven't tried it with an orb, but I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty devastating. You know what? We can test it right here. Let's use artillery. So this is 3,500. Okay? I can't do it fast enough because my corpse explosion is over here. You know what? Let me move it around. This is how I would really have my deck laid out. I have spells first so they're easier to... Oh, come on. So watch. Now this is F1 and this is F2, so I could do them immediately together. Okay, so this is active. I'm going to do F2, F2, Nasty. Yep. So this was 3,500 and it lost 3,300. So that would take out an orb. Plus, it splits to 3 things. So it would take out an orb and 2 power wells, all on full health. Now, you might think, well, that's insane. A harvester, 2 corpse explosions immediately wipes out a base. You have to remember, if the base is frost, they could glacier shell the orb, or cobalt trick a well and glacier shell the orb if they're fast enough, and they'll only lose 1. You have to remember what you're spending. It's 50 bound, 30 bound in the Embalmer's Shrine, 50 for the ability, that's 80 power. 50 for Nasty, it's 120 power. 300 for the harvester, That's 220. I'm sorry, that's 420 power. And then 2 corpse explosions. So that's 620 power you spent. That's insane. You'll never have that much power, ever. But what you could do is, if you're in late tier 2 and you have a Shrine of Greed, you can do it. Then you could have 700 power. You see the enemy going tier 2. You bring in a Harvester to his home base, activate Embalmers, do the double thing, nasty, and it'll instantly wipe out his entire base. And because he went tier 3, he can't defend, and now he's back to tier 2 and lost an orb and 2 power walls. So again, this is something that almost never happens in the game, but these are combos you will just not find in any other deck, and they are so freaking awesome. And if you get good at this, I mean, props to you. It's amazing. Using Undead Army together with Corpse Explosion, very cool combo. Props to Necrospaz and Carrion for, I don't think they invented it, but they introduced it to me. And it's just loads of fun, and I wish I got better at it. So I've been trying Pure Shadow, and the Pure Shadow I've been trying is only tier 2. I don't have tier 3, because I hope to get to late tier 2s, use Shrine of Greed, and then do some insane stuff. Either this, or Undead Army and Corpse Explosion, or just spamming Harvesters. It can get a lot of fun. You have to remember, in early tier 2, Shadow is not the strongest, because other decks have crowd control and instant damage spells. But, as I said before, this is the most fun deck in Battleforge, without a doubt. And pulling it off is just, it's amazing. I'm not going to go into tier 3 because this is a tier 2 tutorial. I hope you had fun watching. I hope I didn't overstay my welcome. See you guys in the next video.